Wow, this is great. We're happy to have some of our key partners stand up here with us. We've got council members, legislature. I'll let Aaron tell me when we're ready to roll. Yeah, come on in, everybody. Welcome, everybody. Mayor Lisa Brown here today, and we are here at this Liberty Park expansion of affordable housing. We're here today to talk about housing supply, housing. We've got some key partners with us. Proclaim Liberty, a part of the development here of 54 units of new construction. This project utilizes $4 million from the HEART Fund that we're going to talk about in just a minute, as well as some other city funds, home and CDBG funds. Some of those are federal that pass-throughs that we are very hopeful are not reduced. We've got key partners here, such as Habitat for Humanity, Take Up the Cause, that develops housing, especially for people who were discriminated against in the past and not had access to that American dream. The Spokane Low-Income Housing Consortium is here. I see Creole Resources and other nonprofits. That's how we do it in Spokane. And this housing supply issue that we're talking about is something that is very significant to the strength of our community. We have a goal to create over 22,000 new housing units in the city by 2046. It's ambitious, but it's an attainable goal. Who's here for that goal of 22,000? Why does housing supply matter so much? Housing supply is the key to more affordability. Housing supply helps prevent homelessness. Housing supply is a ticket to the American dream for many families. Housing supply gives more people options, whether they are seniors or young people, young families, people who have recently moved to our community. Housing supply creates jobs. It's good business for private sector and nonprofit developers and all the folks they hire and the skilled tradespeople who actually build these things. Let's give a shout out to them. Housing supply makes us a stronger Spokane. And we take the all of the above approach about getting there. We recently, City Council recently passed the Home Starts Here initiative, and that is a comprehensive set of policies that lay out everything, again, from preventing homelessness all the way through to having the city departments all aligned around expanding affordable housing supply. So let me talk briefly about the 4 proposals that we're introducing today, and then we've got a few other speakers here to add a little more. First of all, the legislature passed quite a while ago House Bill 1590, and since 2020, Spokane has been leveraging that 1/10 of a cent local sales and use tax for affordable housing. The ordinance I'm introducing today updates and aligns that fund with our state and city housing goals and this goal of creating new housing units. We are also creating more flexibility in how the funds can be awarded, both to construct the housing and to provide the services that help for actually maintaining that housing for people. This ordinance will also bring the City Council into the process earlier by having them indicate their priorities early in the year through a resolution. And it will establish funding deadlines so that what we do here can best leverage state resources such as the Housing Trust Fund. We are also renaming this officially in honor of the work done by the Spokane Alliance to help get this fund off the ground in Spokane and to continue to advocate for its use. So today we have once and for all, we're not going to call it 1590 anymore, because there's always a new 1590 every year, right, Senator? So this fund will be called the Housing Equity and Attainable Residence Trust, the HEART Fund. The second proposal is an affordable housing permit fee deferral program. Our permit fees are important. They're part of reimbursing the city for the expenses associated with building new housing. However, they can be a barrier when a developer is putting a project together and needing to put those funds out there before they even have their housing up and going. So this is a permit fee deferral program. Under this proposal, certain affordable housing projects could defer up to $150,000 in building and street permit fees to be paid at a later date. And so that should help speed up and get those projects penciled out and under construction quicker. Proposal number 3 relates to our municipal code. It has evolved incrementally over several decades, and various updates have been made. But much of the code is fragmented and inconsistent. So to remedy that and to fit with our long-term goals and with our comprehensive plan update that our planning department is well in the midst of, we will be, through the City of Spokane's Community and Economic Development Department, assessing and updating our Unified Development Code. And as we do this, we want the interests that care about and benefit from housing to be part of that process. So this will be an opportunity for developers, neighborhoods, people who are urban geeks and want to bring some of the best practices of other cities to Spokane, to be at the table with us as we update that code, make it consistent with our new comprehensive plan, and really set us off for success when it comes to having clear, understandable regulations and rules and opportunities around how you build in Spokane. And then finally, proposal number 4 is that we are going to have a public rule change to waive general facilities charges for affordable housing developers. GFCs are fees that are charged to developers to connect to city utility services. There are some state programs we take advantage of. One's called CHIP, in order to get some of those fees waived. However, we want to do more, and Senator Riccelli, who's joining us today, proposed and helped pass Senate Bill 5662 this year. It allows municipalities like Spokane to waive those fees in order to incentivize affordable housing development. Now I'll bring Senator Riccelli up to share a few words.
Well, thank you so much, Mayor. I'm State Senator Marcus Riccelli from the 3rd District, and I'm excited to see the initiatives put on by our city, by our mayor, by our city council, because good ideas don't come from Republicans or Democrats, they come from community members. And that's what happened with the particular bill that I was involved in. I didn't know GFC from ABC, BBD, anything, but when the Spokane Low Income Housing Coalition, Habitat for Humanity, and other partners came and said, we want to try and do things to make sure that we can provide more houses and more apartments to people, I said, let's go forward. I want to give a quick shout out to my seatmate, Representative Hill, who also helped work the bill on the House side. We had to make a couple amendments to make sure that it was workable too. But basically that piece will allow developers like Habitat for Humanity to waive fees for low-income housing as long as they're paid back if they turn back to market rate housing. Low-income housing is becoming more expensive. Rising insurance rates and construction costs account for this, among other things. And this is just one, as the mayor said, one piece of the pie. We need all things working in this direction. The lack of affordable housing is one of our biggest challenges facing Spokane and our state. We know that. So this state legislation combined with the city ordinance will build more homes and create more stability for more people. I want to talk to you about one quick thing too. All these pieces of the pie, we talk about housing as a roof over our head, but for me, someone who works in the healthcare space and works on a lot of healthcare policy, a home is really healthcare, okay? We know people aren't gonna thrive unless they have a roof over their head. This is an important initiative combined broadly with these deals. I'm so happy to hear too that we have a goal, a target, because every time we build, it doesn't matter if it's one house, one apartment unit, whatever, every time we should ring the bell, because that means one more family, one more individual is gonna be safe, happy, and healthier. Okay, so I'm very pleased with the initiative today to be speaking here. I'm very grateful that the city's working in partnership with the state. Again, the Housing Trust Fund, that was one of the bright spots in a very challenging year. We put a lot of money into the Housing Trust Fund. We want to work at partnerships at every level to build more housing and create more stability for people. So thank you all for all the work you're doing, and that we'll continue to do. Let's ring the bell every time we get a new unit. And my job now is to bring up Daniel Roberts from the Spokane Alliance.
Good morning.
Morning.
My name is Daniel Roberts, and I'm delighted to be here on behalf of the West Central Abbey and the Spokane Alliance. The Spokane Alliance Housing Equity Action Research Team, or HEART, was started 5 years ago out of the meal ministry at the West Central Abbey and has been a critical group to advocate for the creation of our local housing levy. And I especially want to extend my gratitude to Mayor Brown and the city staff for their hard work to establish and distribute these HEART funds. And it is my belief that the work of the Alliance and the work of Mayor Brown's administration elevates Spokane into being a better place to call home. So today, we honor this ordinance because in it we can see the dedicated work of the people of Spokane. HEART is the labor of West Central, Kendall Yards, and Audubon. HEART is the time of folks in permanent housing, transitional housing, and no housing at all. HEART is the investment of citizens and immigrants. HEART is the values of our faith communities, Lutherans and Episcopalians, Reformed Jews and Unitarians. HEART is the persistence of Spokane's workforce, nurses and teachers and carpenters and government officials. We have all worked hard for this moment today. And so we celebrate. We celebrate the leadership the administration has taken to listen to community voices, to elevate community leadership, and to materialize community vision. We celebrate the collaboration which has made this possible. And we celebrate the funds which have been released and the units which have been able to be built through community investment. But there's still much work to be done to tackle Spokane's housing crisis. And so we must continue to dream of a Spokane we want to live in, a Spokane of opportunity, a Spokane of trust, a Spokane of inclusivity and collaboration. I am confident we can build that city together. Thank you.
Next, we'd like to invite Michelle Girardeau from Habitat for Humanity.
Awesome. Well, this is what I'm talking about. This is the dream right here. My name is Michelle Girardeau. I'm the CEO of Habitat for Humanity Spokane, and a huge thank you to Mayor Brown and her team and council for this is kind of historic right now. So as we talk about developers, so Habitat's not just a developer. We don't just develop homes. We're a developer of hope. We are building communities of opportunity and a world where everyone has a decent place to live. And that is not possible without our partners like Black Homeownership Spokane, Take Up the Cause, the Spokane Alliance, who I stand right there with you, don't want to talk about the number 1590 ever again. We've been talking about it for a long time. The Heart Fund is going to transform even more lives, and it has transformed lives in our community. Habitat for Humanity partnered with A Better Way LLC to acquire and revitalize blighted homes throughout West Central, increasing those property values and ensuring that they will remain permanently affordable. So that one-time gap funding will be reinvested for generations, ensuring that homes don't fall into market speculation and families that have lived in these neighborhoods for generations aren't scooted to the curb. Deferred permits. We talk a lot about cash flow. Cash flow is a tough thing to make all of these things pencil out. And by having those deferred permits, that saves us in huge ways. Not only in trying to support smaller developers that are trying to take up the cause and make this transformation worthwhile in our community, but as Mayor said, 22,000 homes. We've got to pull out every stop we can to make sure that we can fulfill that promise. GFC waivers. So just in the last few years, we've seen that the difference between even just a couple $1,000s can price a family out of obtaining an affordable homeownership opportunity. The GFCs would have put another $16,000 on top of these homes. So the support of Senator Riccelli, Representative Hill, getting that across the finish line to make sure that it's a tool that we can use here locally, it's going to be transformational. You know, I was thinking about, and I'm hearing from a lot of my community members, like, when can we go back to the good old days? The good old days of when housing was affordable, it was accessible, but the reality is some of us in this community have never seen those good days. And these initiatives, these ordinances are going to transform that and truly create a Spokane where we truly all belong. So huge thank you to the city, to our incredible partners. I'm ready to get back to work.
All right. So like with any ordinances, they have a long journey. They often start with advocates. They pass through a policy maker, and then they go to the policy deciders of the City Council. And so I just want to acknowledge that Council President Betsy Wilkerson is here, Council Member Zach Zapone, Council Member Paul Dillon. They're here because they are on board with the spirit of creating more housing in Spokane. So thanks to you. And I know they'll work hard to take input and get these through the process. So with that, we are open to taking a few questions. Anybody has any? Yes, Emery. The WAVE GFCs will essentially work by spreading out the costs throughout the system, throughout the system of fees and permits. That's how it works. It could, however, at the same time, there's also a certain kind of economies of scale. When we're building more, we can more efficiently utilize the staff and the structure. And I think with the new streamlined code, we'll be making up efficiencies on that side of the equation, so that ideally the impact on everybody else is small. Good question that I do not have the answer to. Here's Spencer Gardner.
Hi, Spencer Gardner. I'm the planning director for the city. So the proposal is to allow permit fees to be waived up to, in most cases, up to the certificate of occupancy, which is the point where the building's done and people are ready to move in. In the end, we're not talking about a reduction in dollars that come to the city or an increase in any way. This is really just changing the timing. And that timing, as you heard earlier, is critical for developers. as they're trying to get their financing together and get their project put together, the moment in time that they have to pay those permit fees really matters to them. So by pushing it to that point of the time that the building is ready to be occupied, we give them a window to get started with their project and allow for things to get underway before that money actually has to come to the city.
Thanks, Spencer. Anybody else? We think that these ordinances today will be part of that because they're specifically tied to benefit affordable housing. We know that we're not done building. The amount of total units necessary doesn't mean that we have necessarily achieved our target for affordable units. And so we want to keep working so that we're doing both the big picture of building more housing in general. And we know that that in and of itself has an impact on affordability because it frees up the option for people to move, and that lowers the price pressure on all housing when you expand supply. But we want to continue to work on the things that will help us build more affordable housing. And I think that is, we still have a dialogue that we need to have with both our state and our federal partners, because we certainly don't want to have to go backwards on funding that is currently coming to the city. And we are concerned about that in terms of the federal piece right now. We don't have certainty there. So that's a dialogue that still needs to happen and that we can still use everyone's advocacy for. We definitely have advocates at the federal level. Senator Cantwell's been here multiple times working on the low income housing tax credit, but that alone is not enough. The other piece of this is in the Home Starts Here. HOME stands for, you're going to like this, Senator, healthcare, outreach, multidisciplinary engagement, and economic mobility. That whole spectrum of things that help us address homelessness and the pressure on people that are lacking affordable housing right now. And economic mobility is another piece of this. So that's why our strong partnerships with schools and schools and parks initiatives are another key part of this, because it's also about keeping our young people and our future attached to education and activity and pathways for their own economic mobility.
Mayor, just want to look. I understand whether it's 22,000, whether it's 26,000. This community has been stuck in paralysis with the idea that the problem is too big. So I really credit the mayor and the council for saying, here's a marker. And I mean that. We need a bell to ring, because whether it's one Habitat for Humanity home or it's 100 new apartment units that are affordable, that is meaningful change. But what we don't do well lately is celebrate those successes. So now we're gonna do that. And every time we bring a new unit online, we're gonna say we're getting closer to that goal, and we're not gonna put our hands up in the air and say we can't get there. All these people here and all the folks in the community, they believe that we can get there. And I do. I think goals matter and having targets. So I'm really excited. I think it's challenging, and it's risky to ever put any kind of number out there, because it's going to evolve depending on our economic situations nationally, with the state, etc. But I think we're putting a marker out there, and now we can come together and we can really celebrate every time we bring a new unit online.
And I just want to add that we have a record number of housing permits in the pipeline right now. We had a record number that were awarded last year. Again, that's not enough, but and we're committed to do even better with those. But that is part of having success, is having a goal and being able to measure your steps towards it. So we are very committed to that. And as you can tell, this isn't just a one-shot thing. It's not just one city department. It's an all-of-city approach. Thank you. Yeah, first I'll have Spencer answer the timing question.
So we're in the final stages of preparing a request for proposals to go out to nationwide to companies, firms that have expertise in code development. We expect to put that out in the next couple of months, and then we will be working on that code update concurrent with our comprehensive plan. So we're right now in the process of updating the community's comprehensive plan. That will set the policy direction, and then that translates into the code that we will be establishing as part of this update process. So they'll happen together. And the comprehensive plan is due at the end of 2026. So we would use that as our target for the code update as well.
So I haven't had a chance to look at all the details of the SBA proposed charter amendment. I will say that addressing homelessness and addressing affordable housing requires more than consultants and full-page ads and even 5 o'clock walks that say we have homeless people here. It requires actually coordinating the funds and marshaling and mobilizing the partnerships. And so it's one thing to say there's some magic fund out there. I think they refer to the general fund, and we'll just take a piece of that and everything will be done. No, where does the general fund come from? It comes from the people of Spokane. And where does the Heart Fund come from? It comes from the people of Spokane. But there are CDBG funds, there are home funds, there are state and federal resources. We have private sector developers that are very committed to this type of housing development. We have nonprofits. We have some exciting nonprofits that are not only committed to housing, they're committed to connecting people who have not been able to access or unlock that American dream to housing. So shout out to Chauncey and others who are doing that kind of work. There are nonprofits connecting people to employment, connecting homeless people to employment right now in our city. Shout out to the pre-employment preparation program that gets people ready for apprenticeships, and shout out to Dignified Workday, who will let an unhoused person walk in the door and will put them right out on a job site that day. So it's time for this community to put aside this idea that there's one entity to blame or one easy solution or one magic bullet or one technocratically written proposal that is going to solve this problem. We are collectively going to do it, and we're not going to be stopped by the naysayers. We are going to just keep highlighting the multiple pieces of this. And guess what? We're not done today. This isn't like, okay, we did it. Let's go, folks, right? Michelle and Laurel and everyone at the Alliance knows that this is an ongoing thing that we have to keep putting the pieces together. It's like a big puzzle, but everybody can be one of the pieces of that puzzle. And I'm so excited how the faith community has stepped up to be part of this. For one thing, you always need speakers, part of the faith community, at your podium, right? Because they just have that cadence that know how to do it. But also because they are putting their resources, their time, their limited amounts of funding, but many times their volunteer resources, where their values are, where their faith is, where their morality is. And we need a lot more of that. I know there are many of those folks in Spokane, and they oftentimes just feel a little bit helpless. They feel discouraged. They feel like it's so big, like Marcus said, that we're not going to get there. And that's why we have to keep coming together, celebrating our smaller steps, keeping the vision ahead of us, but celebrating that we're taking steps towards it. So thank you all for being here today. I can do that right here. Don Kinter.
Stand right next to him, but so those award notifications are going to City Council on Monday, July 14th, for first discussion at their briefing committee, the Urban Experience Committee that meets at noon.
All right. Thanks, Brian. All right, thanks everybody.